It has glowing red eyes, wings like a giant moth, and it has been seen by dozens in the skies over West Virginia in the Midwest. But could the legendary Mothman be a misidentified bird, or something biology hasn't caught up to yet? Today, we talk to a biologist, separate science from the strangeness, and ask what nature really has to say about West Virginia's most famous monster, the Mothman. Welcome to episode 4 of this summer's limited podcast series, 100 Days of Mothman, brought to you by the Caffeinated Cryptid Podcast Network. All summer long, we're diving deep with eyewitnesses, paranormal researchers, scientists, and filmmakers to explore the mystery, madness, and the legacy of the Mothman. Episode 4 features biologist and researcher Wild Trees, a southern Texas native and insect specialist, who brings a scientific lens to the legend of Mothman. Together, we explore the biology behind the creature. Could Mothman be a misidentified bird, a giant moth, or something entirely unknown to science? In this episode, Wild Tree shares his expert insight on the plausibility of known species matching Mothman's description, and we dive deep into the lore of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, including theories of interdimensional beings, paranormal phenomena, and the high-strangeness surrounding other Great Lakes and Midwest sightings. From biological possibility to impossible mystery, this conversation bridges hard science and folklore in a way few others can. And I'm Bobby, host of the Caffeinated Cryptid Podcast Network, and this is episode 4 of 100 Days of Mothman. You can watch the full video on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and several other of your favorite audio apps. Or catch the whole series anytime at Mothman100.com. And hey, be kind, please like, subscribe, follow, and share. It helps me more than you know. Now let's get to the conversation. This isn't just speculation, it's a biologist's honest take on one of the strangest creatures in American legend. Here's biologist Wild Trees, live from southern Texas with episode 4 of 100 Days of Mothman. So we got biologist Wild Trees here, and the purpose of this episode is to talk about the possibility of Mothman being a moth, and maybe Mothman is a bird, because they call him a bird first. And the irony isn't lost on me that having Wild Trees is an insect biologist, for lack of a better term. I can't think of what they're called. But Mothman wasn't initially called moth. He was called the bird. They thought he was a giant bird. That was what they all said until some local newspaper in Virginia called him after Batman, called him Mothman. And so don't think that I don't know that going into this, but no cryptid studies any fun without science, as far as I'm concerned. It just makes everything anecdotal unless there's science going on. So I brought in a biologist, my favorite biologist. Oh. I have quite the collection, but Wild Trees is my favorite. He works at, what do you do for the state? You're volunteer at the state park?
Yeah. So I volunteer at the Texas State Parks, and then I guess technically I'm an interpreter. So they have this position at most state parks where it says interpretation, but really what you're interpreting is nature. You're translating or interpreting nature to the regular park viewer. So you're supposed to help them understand nature. And it's not really, they don't really push the educational aspect. They push more of the connection to nature and the appreciation of nature. Mm-hmm. So they just don't want you to get overly lecturing. But I do teach a lot about the science of what they're actually saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. You go to a national park. I like that. You got the little cards that are next to everything, next to every tree, and you read some of them. So I'm like, well, this tree was once, this, and it faces north sometimes, and there's moths, and you're like, oh, I'm not reading all of this. But yeah, I go for the educational, probably 60-40 fund education, because I'll talk to the guy cleaning bones in a museum in a second. That's how I learned the Dimetrodon wasn't even a dinosaur; it was a mammal.
Right.
I learned it wasn't a reptile; it was a mammal. I knew it wasn't a dinosaur.
Right.
That happened in the Rockies. That was pretty cool, though. But the basically, we'll start off with the morphology of a 8-foot moth. Like, how would that work? It would even be possible with the oxygen level and the gravity, and however. I know I'm spouting off layman's terms here, but you can say what you were saying earlier about your notes you took.
Oh yeah. So I took some notes about just some general thoughts about moths and insects, and why it kind of doesn't make sense that it would be a moth. And of course, we know that that's just a name they gave it, but just for fun, because it's in the name, it's a moth. Might as well talk about moths. But yeah, moths. Well, first of all, they're insects, so they have a 3-part body plan. So all insects have. So you could see a mosquito, a grasshopper, praying mantis, dragonfly, all these different types of insects. They have a 3-part body plan. And so a moth has one too. So a moth would have a head, and then it would have a thorax and an abdomen. And from the drawings that I see in the descriptions, they kind of just describe one section, just like a cigar.
Like a dude.
Yeah. Straight up log of a man. That's all they say.
Yeah.
So for that fact, it's like I feel like they would maybe mention those 3 segments. Now, they do mention the wings. So moths do have wings. That is true. They are flyers, although they're not very powerful flyers. Some of them are actually. Some of the sphinx moths are pretty strong. They kind of look like hummingbirds. They get pretty big. Okay. But the other thing is, the reason why insects can't get very big is just because the environment here can't really support them. The structure they're made, because they have the skeleton on the outside of the body, it's kind of limited. It's got its advantages and disadvantages. So that's an exoskeleton. So what's really interesting is that like one of the largest insects was a moth. I mean, not a moth, a dragonfly. That was like really, really wide compared to the dragonflies of today. And then, but what some researchers found, so this was a prehistoric insect that no longer exists. And that's not even, I mean, this is not as big as a mothman, but it's big for an insect. But part of the reason why they could survive then is because the air in those prehistoric times was a lot thicker. Like literally it was just like easier for them to fly because the air was thicker. It's like basically kind of like if you're in a pool full of water, it's kind of, you have to work harder for yourself to float in the water. But if that pool was full of jello, it'll literally be thicker, then it's easier for you to float. That's the equivalent of what's happening. And
really? I've never heard that comparison before, because I've heard people saying about how the air would be thicker if you went back in time to the dinosaur times.
But literally the air being thicker is less energy is required to keep you afloat. And that's one of the
interesting.
The other really interesting thing is there's certain insects. I know beetles for sure, and probably dragonflies. There's research that's been done that if you expose the young larva to an environment with supplemental oxygen, like a highly oxygen-rich environment, they will grow bigger than their normal counterparts, which is pretty interesting. And that doesn't work with all insects. They've tried it on a few, but for sure for beetles. So you could, if you wanted to do a little bit of mad science, you could just basically raise these. You could get a beetle that's already pretty big, like a Goliath beetle or something, or an Atlas beetle, and you could raise it from hatching from an egg all the way out to an adult, but keep it in a chamber with a high oxygen, and it'll get even bigger than normal.
Really? So, man, that would be fun to do, like a little basement experiment with like a 4-foot beetle. Like, what did you do? Like, on the Temple of Doom, I bring this example up whenever we talk about this. They have those giant roaches.
Yeah.
The Temple of Doom. And I even saw some in the Harvard Museum of Natural History. How do those get that big? They're like 7 or 8 inches.
Oh, are they? Okay. I don't know if
they're not roaches, but they're, I don't even know. Maybe a big praying mantis looking thing. Remember, because Short Round said, tastes like fortune cookie. And they're just this freaking long. But they had some in the Harvard Museum of Natural History too.
Okay, well, I'm that's interesting. I'm at a loss. I don't think I've ever seen that. This is the one Indiana Jones movie I haven't seen, so I don't have a memory of that insect. I mean, is it a Madagascar hissing cockroach? Because that's the go-to insect.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah,
now, this isn't a cockroach. I got a picture of it while you're talking. I'll see if I can pull it up. It'll be something to come back to. Because this is going to be a science lesson anyway. If you're looking for a ton of Mothman lore in this episode, you might want to wait till next week. But because this is going to be kind of nerdy, but we'll dive down some Jack Brown and Men in Black stuff here in a minute as well. Yeah, we got to talk sandhill cranes first, people. Get with it.
So for those reasons, I just those ones I've already mentioned, the fact that they didn't mention the 3-body plan, the fact that moths just can't get that big because of the environment. I don't think it's an insect. Plus, it has some really weird stuff going on. It has a lot more in common with like UFOs and aliens. Like, isn't it true that some people reported like their eyes, like they looked at it and their eyes were like, it's almost like their eyes were exposed to high level energy and they got like an infection or like their eyes became damaged from looking at it, which people report.
It's the exact same. If you're ever welding, it's the exact same burn as a welder's burn. And it's called Let me look it up what it's called because I had it. Painful inflammation. Ah, come on. Ultraviolet. No. Name. What's it called? It's called something.
What in the welder's fire causes that? What is damaging you? Is it just the intensity of the light?
I'm not sure. I've had it one time, and in the Mothman movie, they show that one guy that has it because he was making out with his girlfriend, and Mothman flashed him. Not like naked Mothman, but like with light. Mothman's like, "Ooh, look at me!" And but yeah, it burns. It burns. It feels like there's sand in your eyes.
Yeah,
and it's like super ultraviolet.
So that doesn't sound like anything in animal. I don't know of any animal that could do that. That's why I'm leaning away from it being. We'll still talk about it being an animal, but it sounds more like something not like an animal, because like there's a lot of similarities to, like I said, UFOs and strange paranormal stuff. The one thing I was going to say as a scientist, I think is really interesting, is that
conjunctivitis.
Conjunctivitis, yeah, that sounds like.
God. I read every book on Mothman. I couldn't come up with the conjunctivitis.
So I tend not to like really engage with skeptics anymore. People that just, because it's so weird. Like a lot of them are very defensive and like emotional about the fact that these paranormal things can't be. It's very emotional. That's what I don't like. I'm like, why are you getting so emotional, dude? Like, we're just talking about the world, like normal gentlemen and gentlewomen here, but they seem to, and so I don't think I'm ever going to convince them. But some of the reasons why I think paranormal things exist, just some basic broad things I've observed as a scientist, is number one is like, the fact is that, because a lot of people say straight up, they say, I don't believe in alien abductions because there's no evidence for it. Which I think if I was going to clarify, they probably mean there's no concrete verified evidence. There's not a large. What they mean to say is that I don't believe in alien abductions because there's not a large quantity of physical verified evidence. That's what they mean to say. What they actually say is there's no evidence, because there is evidence. There is evidence of different types of evidence. But here's the fact. The fact is that something can be true without having evidence. That's just a fact. I'm sorry. Like, there's a lot of things out there that can be true, so it's just not a strong enough argument. Just the very fact that the evidence isn't strong enough for it to be there, that's not enough for me to be like, I'm sorry, that's just not enough. Because the fact is that something can be true. Lots of things have been true before the evidence existed for them. It could be like, well, I suspect we just don't have the right tools or the right understanding to get the evidence of paranormal encounters. So what we're left with are these weird experiences that we collect with our senses. We collect them with our eyes, our nose, and that's really hard to analyze scientifically, but it is evidence. So that's one thing. I think that's a weak argument, just that evidence doesn't exist. But it's scary, though. I understand it's scary. It's scary that there's a lot of things out there that can't be, even though there's no evidence. Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it if they are real. I think that's part of it.
Yes. Now, the other thing that I think about paranormal things, why I think is true, is like, it's just a very fact that, like, I view the paranormal now as aspects of the universe that we don't understand. And I also understand that as humans, we will never fully understand the universe. There's always going to be something we don't understand. It's just impossible. We're just one species. We are limited in our abilities, in our life, all things. We're just limited. So we will never fully understand everything. So there will always be a paranormal. And I don't know, some people have a hard time understanding. It's scary. Once again, that's scary. The idea that we don't understand everything, that's scary to people. It's comforting to say we have the tools of science, we're modern, and we are on top of it. We understand everything. And that's not true. And that'll never be true either. So, because I've said this before, I think that one day in the future, we will understand abductions and Bigfoot, whether they're true or not. We will understand. But there will still be a paranormal. Like, there'll be something beyond those things that's super strange, even stranger than we can imagine. And that'll be the new paranormal. And it'll just keep going like that forever. There'll always be we'll never be able to catch up to the ultimate reality. We'll always be struggling. So that
what's next generation paranormal? God, imagine if we get our frequencies in our our instruments get real good enough. We can see the fourth and fifth dimension. Like, what's scarier than that?
Right. Yeah. Well,
Like,
one simple example is that whatever's abducting us, which I think the evidence is strong that we're being abducted. I've said this before as well. Abductions are super common on our planet. So humans are constantly abducting other humans. Humans are constantly abducting other animals. Animals are constantly abducting other animals. Animals sometimes abduct humans as well. There's instances of an animal, is usually babies, but some adults, but usually an adult animal will abduct a baby and eat it or kill it or something. Anyway, the point is that abductions are just so common. Like, everybody's abducting everybody left and right. So the idea that something's abducting us and we can't really control it, it's not that hard to believe, because, like I said, it's sad, but we live in an abduction-heavy planet. Probably, if there's life, which there probably is life outside the planet, we probably live in an abduction-heavy galaxy. I mean, it's just, abductions are just, it seems to be a way of life. And so that's not hard to understand. It's scary and it's uncomfortable, but I see a lot of abductions happening all the time.
It's like phase one of survival. Like the cheetah has to abduct the baby antelope.
It's true.
And the baby gazelle. I mean, that's what it is.
Oh, and that's what I was going to say. So as far as abductions, what is the next level of paranormal? I think one other level, it's not the most mind-blowing one, but I think one level of the next paranormal is that whatever is abducting us, I think they're being abducted by something else as well.
Something bigger?
Yeah, something bigger.
Like the boss's boss?
What's that?
No, like the boss's boss, the regional manager?
Yeah, the regional manager.
That's terrifying, because there's something up there. If it's the hierarchy of things, like, there's always a bigger fish, like Obi-Wan said, or Qui-Gon said. We don't know what's out there. And I even heard a hypothesis over the weekend about how the universe, the Big Bang, was just a condensation of the previous universe, exploding after it condensed as much as it could. So I'm like, well, what the heck happened? Did something survive? Is anything out there? Is something running that? Something above it looking in, like the Marvel thing, the Marvel guy from What If, or what was it called? You know what I'm talking about? Whenever the guy was bigger than the universe.
Is it the Watcher?
Yeah, it was something like Ultron heard him talking. Ultron heard him talking, like, hey, who was that? Who said that? And Ultron becomes like a god.
Okay. Yeah.
Something bigger than the universe. Here's these. I found these things, by the way.
Oh, you found the bugs? Okay, let's see.
Get it out of the way before it ruins the conversation.
Let's see. Oh, okay.
See that big one right there? Like, those are all the ones from like those are stick bugs, but they're like the ones from Temple of Doom.
Yeah, they kind of look like stick bugs. Yeah, they look like tropical. There's different spiny types of stick bugs. That's what they look like. Yeah.
God, but they're like 6-8 inches long.
They get very big. Yeah. And
terrifying.
It can hurt you on accident, because if they have all these spines, so they'll crawl on you or something.
The stick bugs can't really hurt you.
Right.
They're just kind of there, and they're weird looking when you see one. One time I put my hand on a praying mantis climbing a tree. So, I'm like, man, and it felt like a big squishy hot dog. Like, it had this, it's like just because they're cold, and they're kind of their bodies are kind of squishy. Which leads me to my next question. And you're talking about and I don't even know why I didn't think about this beforehand, but Mothman being hypothetically a giant bug and having to have an exoskeleton, how much would he weigh if it was real? Like Mythbuster style, an 8 to 10 foot exoskeleton. That's like a mech suit. That's like from Avatar. He'd have to weigh like 4 tons.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's where you start getting all these compounding problems.
Like Godzilla couldn't support his own weight on the planet, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a good point. I've never heard that discussed that way, but yeah. And then also a lot of the weight is on the outside because they're skeletons, right? So it would kind of like be compressing inwards and would be kind of like crushing them.
Yeah, the liquid would go down like it was in like a bag, like when you're carrying like they had gas in the plastic bags back during the pandemic. That's what I'm just spitballing here. I don't want to ruin the conversation, which
you're right.
The audience probably thinks I am, but that's just me coming up with that, like thinking it can't be like the organs hanging on the inside wouldn't work. Just the weight.
Yeah. Yeah, and also there's the way they breathe. Also, it's not suited for large. They don't have like a normal human or like beaver respiratory system. So their system is suited for small spaces. So it would just break down at the larger scale.
What is it called? Book lungs that bugs have.
There's like spiracles. I should know this is like basic.
Yeah, that's why
But
you're here.
yeah, book lungs, spiracles, I think is also what they have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. In my defense, I don't study the insides of the bugs. I study more the behavior and their distribution. But at one point, I knew all these things about the lungs.
Well, the interesting thing about Mothman is every account is just a bat or a man with bat wings.
Yeah.
The fact that the Batman was already taken is coincidental.
Yeah.
And not once did it have like the giant lobed wings like an actual moth.
The other thing I was going to about the paranormal and how I view it and why I think it could be possible, including the Mothman, is like I think about and lots of other people have said this, but the fact that like humans, we just assume that on this planet we're like the top species, right? And we're like, yeah, occasionally if we mess around and find out a bear will eat us or a cougar, right? But those are like that's not the majority of the time. We're really the ones on top. But I think we may be wrong with that interpretation. I think we may be lower down in the ring. So I think about something like a gazelle, looking in the plants, they think they see a lion, right? But they're not 100% sure. So they call their friend over. They're like, hey, I think one of those things is there, a lion. And his friends is like, no, because the lion's camouflage. So his friend's like, no, that's just pareidolia. Like, there's not actually seeing faces where there are none. He's like, there is no such thing as a lion. That's like a folk story. People would talk about lions and they eat you, but it's really not that. People, gazelles just die all the time for natural causes. So you're a conspiracy theorist. So, I mean, something like that does happen. Like gazelles are not 100% sure what's going on with lions. Lions have evolved to outsmart the gazelle, to camouflage from them. It's a delicate race that takes millions of years. So I think that could be happening with humans. And we're just too ignorant and, what's that word? We're like ignorant and we're like too arrogant to think it couldn't. But I think a lot of these paranormal entities like Mothman, Bigfoot, aliens, they probably represent other forms of life that sometimes or always live on the planet, and they're just one step ahead of us on the biological scale, and we're too dumb and too arrogant and too ignorant to even realize it, which is a great system for those animals. It's great for them because they get to take advantage of our ignorance. The majority of humans are actively fighting against believing they're true, which is like, imagine if they're real, they love that. If paranormal entities are real, paranormal entities love skeptics. They love skeptics. They're like, yes, yes, queen, yes. We're not real.
Queen.
If they're real, which I think they are, like I said, they love skeptics. The skeptics are working toward their ends because it's obvious they don't want to be known. It's obvious that aliens and Bigfoot don't want to be publicly known, and I understand why. For Bigfoot, it's because we would probably try to exploit them. I mean, we have nuclear weapons. If everybody knew that Bigfoot was real for sure, we could find a way to make them extinct. We'll find a way to do it.
It'd be quick too.
And then with aliens, the thing about aliens is that people like aliens are a different case. But see, aliens are like in Mothman or whatever. They're just flying wherever they want to, whenever, and they're just taking whatever they want to. Imagine if I tried to do that. Let's say I did have a plane, and I'm like, you know what? Today I'm not going to get a license. I'm not going to get a permit. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to fly all the way to Italy, and I'm just going to go in some field and just take a bunch of cows. I can't do that. Like legally with our system of laws, no. Like as soon as I got on the plane, I don't know what would happen. Jets would be scrambled. Somebody would talk to me. I would not be allowed to fly all the way without a license and just land in some field. And that's what aliens are doing. So just one practical thing is that I think aliens don't want to stop doing that. And so that's why they don't become public. I know it sounds silly, like, oh, we're going to try to arrest an alien. But like I said, we do have weapons. Like if we knew for sure that they were there, like if aliens made themselves public, then we'd be like, okay, you're public. Well, you got to follow all these laws we made, And then they'd probably be like, no, we're not going to do that. Then we'd be like, well, now that we know you're real and you've made your intentions clear that you don't want to follow our human laws, we're going to do everything we can to make it hard for you. And so to me, it just seems like a very practical, non like crazy thing is that they just don't want to be known. It's good to operate in the shadows.
They seem to have the ability to not to appear to whoever they want to appear to. It's got to be some kind of energy specific, like frequency. Like I want to appear to this guy in the woods right now. Because I refer to this a lot from the Mothman Prophecy book. There was an instance where John Keel took some witnesses back to the TNT factory.
Right.
And one of the ladies, I think it was one of the Connies. There's a lot of Connies in this book. Connie must have been a popular name back then. But one of the Connies saw the red eyes and saw the Mothman flap off, and nobody else saw anything. And they heard a large iron clang, but nothing fell.
Right.
And so it's like it was very specific to her. And then she's freaking out, and they're like, "Oh God, what's wrong with her?" And Kill, goes back into his flashlight, nothing. And he didn't see anything, and it happened in the room he was in the dark.
Right.
So it's like, did it appear to just her specifically, or was it there and he blinded them out to? Did he appear? That's probably the same of the side. Two sides of the same coin. Did he appear to her specifically, or did they blind the rest of them to him? That's the same thing, but you know what I mean. It's like, how did he blind himself?
So this is obviously something that I've observed with all paranormal entities. I keep mentioning the same Mothman, Bigfoot, aliens. It's obvious to me through all the accounts that they could easily manipulate what we see when we see it. And once again, let me explain why that's not really that big of a feat. We think it is, but it's not really. Let's explain why. So we've grown up, you and I, Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, where we spent all our lives as humans. And we've grew up around humans. Is this true? Both of us just grew up in the human culture.
I've always been a human.
You've always been a human. Okay, good. So then we've grown up with human eyes, human ears, human taste buds, human touch. And to us, that's all we know. And we think it's pretty good because that's all we know. But the truth is that we have incredibly weak everything. Like our eyes are incredibly weak. They're not sophisticated. Our nose is not sophisticated. Nothing about our senses. It's basically just good enough. Really, our greatest adaptation is our ability to think critically and manipulate things with our hands. It's not our senses. Other animals, like, birds have incredibly vision. Dogs have incredible smell. We don't have that. So what I'm trying to say is that actually our senses of a human are very, very poor. It doesn't matter if you have perfect vision. It's still poor. It doesn't matter if you're the woman with the best senses in the world. You still have poor senses compared to what's out there. So as a consequences of humans just having poor senses, it's not hard for me to understand that those senses can be manipulated easily manipulated. I can manipulate if I really try to, I can manipulate your senses. I can make you, like we did an experiment because I taught this in college. So I was in college and I taught a whole class about how easy it is for you to your senses to lie to you or your senses to manipulate you. So one simple experiment we did on memory was I was giving the lecture about this topic and I had my girlfriend at the time come in, whisper something in my ear and leave. And she was wearing a specific outfit. And then toward the end of the class, I'd be like, oh, by the way, we were talking about how our memory and our perception is altered. I was like, my girlfriend came in. If you notice, what does she look like? You were all looking at me. She came in front of all of you. It all happened. So tell us. And they would just all be wrong, completely wrong on basic things like the color of a dress. So, and there's a lot of other examples. So just always remember that it's hard to trust your senses. I'm sorry, but because we're humans, we have very poor senses. And because of that, they could easily be tricked by other people, by yourself. And so the fact that a Mothman could manipulate someone's vision so only they see something, it's not that big a feat to me, I don't think.
Especially if they got some kind of control of vibrations and frequencies at all.
Right. If they're just a few steps ahead of us technologically. And see, there's technological adaptations, but there's also biological advancements. So a lot of humans, we think about all our advancements as technology. They all rely on computers, on electricity. That's what it is. But that's just one form of advanced technology. There's biological technology, which is your adaptations. So there could be, I suspect Bigfoot, aliens, and Mothman, they just biologically have all these other adaptations that to us seem like magic, but it's not a machine, it's not a computer, it's their body. It's the cells of their body. That's the way they are. I always give the example of an electric eel, An electric eel, if you go in the water with this fish, it can produce enough electricity in the water to kill you. That's an adaptation. We don't have anything like that. This is one example of an extreme adaptation. So I believe there's probably adaptations that, the purpose of an adaptation is to help you survive. I think the meaning of life is to produce healthy offspring. And so the purpose of an adaptation is to help with the meaning of life. So another way of saying that is that adaptations are just meant to help you live a long, healthy life so that you can have healthy children. So I think that it makes sense that it's a good adaptation. If you could like camouflage yourself or manipulate other people's thoughts, that's a great adaptation. That will help you survive longer, and that will help you have healthy children. So I think that's what's going on, you know?
There's a lot of that. And I can imagine it being the equivalent to a chameleon.
Right.
It's basically I mean, whatever the hell chameleons did to become color changing. Like imagine that, but like in your own vision, outward facing vision.
Right.
Who knows where the evolution, the tree branched off and where it went.
Right.
And why and who. Like if you couldn't see it, there's no fossil records.
Right.
I don't think the giant bird is going to leave fossil records, and if it did, you would just think it was a giant bird. We can already have fossils of them.
I know some people talk about this, but I don't hear it talked about that often. To me, it's interesting that we have plenty of fossils of animals that look like Bigfoot, like relic hominoids that live among us.
Mm-hmm.
And a few people have argued that those are Bigfoot. They just survived, but
Gigantopithecus.
Yeah.
What's funny is there's no bodies of those found. We don't have a body of the one thing they say it is the Bigfoot. Well, they still don't have bodies. Just a tooth. That's all they have of those.
Right.
But you got the Australopithecus from down south, which is a lot smaller. I think they like Gigantopithecus because it's like 10 feet tall.
Right.
But that's all dependent upon the environment. Like apparently hominids can grow to any size depending on their environment. Like a giant island, they get 10 feet tall, but like New Zealand, they're like 4 feet tall.
That's true.
Same way with the equator. What's the equator paradox, to where nothing above the certain amount of the equator gets very big?
Right. I don't know off the top of my head. I know what you're referring to, but off the top of my head,
because the deer in Florida are the size of like big house cats.
Okay.
it's incredible. But at the same time, the skunk ape, a Florida cryptid, is a ton smaller than the Bigfoot.
That's true. Okay, I see what you're saying.
And like, well, that's true. I mean, they're little lanky bastards, right. The skunk apes, when you see the pictures of them.
That one picture of the skunk ape in Florida that some lady took in her backyard, apparently. You remember that one?
Yeah, the little red one.
I think it's real. What do you think? You think it's fake? It's a good picture.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like you mean the one that was like behind the palm frond?
Yeah. That's a great story. The lady like saw it, tried to feed it something, anonymously sent a letter to like, I don't know, the nature park people, like, hey, this monkey's been in my backyard, and the pictures just show this like bizarre looking skunk.
Well, the funny thing is, that the picture you're referring to is the teeth, how the chiclets.
Yeah.
I've been privy to, I've been in a few campouts with like actual researchers and showing the footage that everybody hears about, but even if they did say it, they're like, well, that's fake, so you don't show it. And that's why you don't get the good things, and you get around the campfire on people's phones. I've seen things that look similar to that from actual researchers, and the teeth, like the chiclet teeth, are a thing. The Harriet Henderson.
Interesting.
My yellow ass teeth after drinking this coffee today.
We talked about the equator. Do you mind if I talk a little bit about Jurassic Park real fast?
Oh, please. I just found my giant box of Jurassic Park toys a while ago. I've been playing Jurassic Park all day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to talk. Is it okay if I talk a little bit about the new movie? I don't know if you're avoiding spoilers.
No,
I would. Go ahead.
I think it'll be out by the time this episode airs anyway.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
July, I think. Yeah. Or June. But anyway, apparently, okay, you saw Dominion, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Dominion, they set up not aliens, dinosaurs were all over the planet, right? So apparently in the new movie, Rebirth, which translates to Renaissance in French, which I think might be a better name, Renaissance, than Rebirth. But anyway, apparently, in the new movie, it's been 5 years after Dominion, and they're kind of changing what happened, the course of what happened. So now they're saying that almost because of climate change, almost all the dinosaurs in the wild have died out, except for along the equator, like you said. So there's still dinosaurs in the wild, but it's severely been limited, which I thought was an interesting, I don't know, it's not really a retcon, but it's interesting, like taking a step back from something you set up earlier.
Yeah, it makes kind of sense because, they get loose and they run up to, well, the last one was about them being in the snow. And I wouldn't think that the Jurassic Park dinosaurs would be very snow, because would they take them all to the Scandinavia or the Alps or something.
Yeah, it was in the Dolomites. I forget
Yeah,
what
like
country. Yeah,
Dolomite is my name. But
yeah.
I was like, I don't know if dinosaurs can handle it up there in the snow. They weren't made for it.
Well, the way they did it, so it's funny because like okay, in Dominion, what they did is they kind of flipped the island concept on backward, so that the Biasin compound is kind of like another island, but what makes it an island is that it's like a valley.
Surrounded by the Alps or whatever.
Yeah, the valley is like kind of tropical. It's like
Mm-hmm.
lush, which happens in real mountains. But all around it is like instead of an ocean of water, like an island, it's like a huge,
Mm-hmm.
like snowy mountain. So the idea is that once again the dinosaurs are contained because of the environment instead of an ocean, it's just all these like snowy Alps. So that's the kind of the it's
Mm-hmm.
like a island, which I thought was pretty neat. I like that idea.
Yeah, well, I guess the part where Bryce Dallas Howard was in that water, that was a tropical area.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, everything was green and lush. But when they landed that helicopter, that plane, it was that raptor was on the ice. I'm like, how long is that going to last? He's going to freeze to death.
Yeah. Yeah, and so when they crashed, that was like the perimeter. They were side of which is interesting. Maybe that raptor was just hunting. That's what it did. It just hunted the perimeter, like animals trying to escape.
Yeah, I wouldn't think there wouldn't be a few dinosaurs that could handle Arctic temperatures. I mean, they were kind of the all-purpose animal at the time, kind of like everything in New Zealand's niche is a bird. All the areas, all the ecological niches are filled by birds in New Zealand, and I think that's the case. I may be coming off the top of my head, but I think that is because you had the moa was like the giant predator back in the day, and now they got the kiwi. It's like the rat.
Yeah, yeah.
Kiwis are real, aren't they? They aren't extinct.
Yeah, they're real. They're an example of something being maladaptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically the female lays one egg, and the egg is basically the entire size of her body. So it's very dangerous for them to lay eggs, but still, yeah.
What? This is getting sidetracked. Now I'm just picturing a kiwi like with an egg in it. Is it like super like?
I just remember that's another thing I taught. I just remember
Wow.
we were examples of maladaptiveness, and it was just like this is an example, and it's like
This is reason you need biology on a Cryptid channel because you have to explore these things.
Yeah,
you have to go have to deep dive.
Yeah, because I remember one time I was talking to my friend about Bigfoot, and I was trying to give examples about why I think Bigfoot could be a biological entity, and I think he made a mistake because he was like he assumed that every species is always operating optimally, like but I was like that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like species become extinct all the time. It's possible to have a species that's on its way out, because he was saying I was describing Bigfoot doing some things, and he's like, well, that doesn't make that's not right, because that would mean that Bigfoot is in the decline. And I was like, yeah, it's very possible that if Bigfoot has existed all these years, it could be that it's going through a decline now, that maybe because of changes in environments and humans and all this, it could be going on the way out. So basically, species, I guess some people assume that species are perfect, adaptations are perfect, and everything's always operating. No, it's like species go through ups and downs, species die all the time. So not everything's optimal. I think of species more like businesses, Some businesses get too big and they do fail. Some businesses just stay like at an average level and they continue forever and ever. Some businesses, like I said, they become bankrupt. Some are innovators. I mean, species they go through all kinds of cycles. It doesn't mean that they're always on top of the game.
Yeah, and is it wrong of me to not get as sad about a species going extinct as they want me to? Is that I know I don't want to say something ignorant, but like you get like the East Island yellow salamander that lives in one hole on the side of it. I'm like, well, you were teetering on the edge anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry you couldn't survive. I mean, but you are a salamander. You're just a salamander that's a little bit more orange than the one 100 miles away. I mean,
yeah.
What makes me sad is the giant fauna when it goes away.
Yeah.
Because those things are unique and evolved from like the Ice Age area. And they came from, the elephants and the horses and the rhinos. And I guess they're in the same way, they're not as sustainable as they would have been back then because they don't really have the giant prairie. They don't have the but when like a rhino goes extinct, I get more sad about when a rat goes extinct because that's just a rat that looks a little bit different than the next rat.
Yeah, so I don't blame you. Yeah, it's you really got to analyze it on a species to species basis. Like, why is the species going extinct?
Yeah,
You know,
it's like 20,000 a day,
no.
something like that, isn't it? How many species go extinct a day? It's a lot.
It's a lot, but I'm like, who's counting though? That's what I don't know. I think it's an.
Like, how'd you know they were there?
Yeah.
No one really knows. I mean, arachnophobia, they found 10 new species of butterfly in the opening sequence. So I don't know what to. I mean, is it going away or are they not? Right. It's a good movie, by the way. Well, I might have to look at that one.
I do like arachnophobia. I saw it a few years ago. I just found a VHS of it and I saw it. And I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah, Jeff Daniels and John Goodman. Get out of here.
A handsome Jeff Daniels. He was pretty good looking back then. I don't know if you noticed, but I looked at behind the scenes, and that spider is actually a real spider to use, and he picked it because it's a very active spider, but it's very non-aggressive, and it looks scary though. It looks scary, so it meets all these boxes. Like, it's a scary-looking spider, very active, charismatic on screen, but it's actually not very dangerous. So
I like how it's not like a giant spider. They didn't go with like something overly scary, and it's just like a little spider that does a bunch of damage real quick, like in waves.
Yeah.
And I always had the Sigourney Weaver flamethrower. Give me that all day.
It's got John Goodman in it too, right?
Oh yeah, John Goodman was the exterminator.
Yeah.
It's like giant fat John Goodman with all the hair too. The best John Goodman. Not this righteous gemstone Ozempic John Goodman.
Yeah.
I still love him though. He was in Big Lebowski, so anybody in Big Lebowski gets a pass from me.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, so the new Jurassic Park movie, they're going back to a third island
with temples.
Yeah, it's got temples, which they played around with. I think the novel had that in there, the original novel.
There were some ancient ruins in the original novel.
Yeah, there were, right? Yeah. And then, so that's cool that you're doing. That's a new thing. And then they say that this is a research facility, which that makes sense. So they're saying like Jurassic Park, Isla Nublar was the showcase, the money-making theme park. Isla Sorna was the factory floor. But then before you get to the factory floor, they're saying this is another island, and this is where they perfected the dinosaur making. So they did all their experimentations here, and then I guess once they figured it out, then they moved it on to Sorna, and then from Sorna they moved it on to, which is true because like I was explaining it to my sister, and I was like, Chick-fil-A, right? Everybody loves Chick-fil-A, but Chick-fil-A has a lab. They have a testing lab, so it's probably in Georgia, but they have a facility with scientists and testers, and all they do there is test food, like new food items for Chick-fil-A, and it's a very expensive, rigorous process, and people are testing, and they're like, when you get a new item at Chick-fil-A, you spend millions of dollars on it, and they researched it, and so that's what the equivalent is of this new Jurassic Park island. This is where they test everything out, and then they send it off to mass production, and then you go to the restaurant. So those are the steps. Just like
that was like that show Unwrap with Mark Harmon back in the day, or Mark, what's his name? I can't think. But they would show all how they're developing all the tasting. They had the little cups.
Yeah.
Made the new Cheetos and everything.
Oh yeah.
I actually wonder something like if some kind of like Mothman was in a lab because he was always around government facilities.
Right.
Like you said earlier, the TNT area.
Right. Let me read some. If you want, I can read some of the Sandhill Crane stuff.
Yeah, we'll go talk about Sandhill Cranes. I hope no one's angry that this podcast took a turn toward Jurassic Park because they all do with me and Wild Trees. So, especially I've been looking over I had like a stack of Jurassic Park cards, and I'm looking through them. I have the Dennis Nedry rookie card and stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. I think one of my next series is going to be book accurate Jurassic Park. I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I have. You know what I was going to do too? I'm thinking about doing this as an experiment. So because I like Jurassic Park, so I told you a little bit. I'm getting ready to write a science fiction story that takes place like 30 million years ago. So 30 million years ago is way after the dinosaurs, but way before humans. Not a lot of people talk about this time zone.
Nope.
So I think it's interesting. But I have the outline of the stories. But one of the things I was thinking about doing to kind of get me in the right mindset is I was going to write by hand all of Jurassic Park. So I was going to have the Jurassic Park novel and then rewrite everything by hand. Because when you write things by hand, it kind of like soaks into your brain in a way, the actual. And so I just wanted to kind of get imbued by the Michael Crichton spirit. I was going to do it for Lost World too. Probably going to take me a while, but Also, it would really help me soak into story. Like I would truly understand the story on a different level. But yeah.
What would be the characters 30 million years ago? Just like megafauna? That's the only thing going around. Mammals.
Yeah. So the two main animal protagonists is like there's this group of like they kind of it's like a pack animal. It kind of looks like a giant wolf mixed with a giant cat and an extinct species. That those are the protagonists, and then they're at war with another group of animals that are called hell pigs, and that's like a wolf. They're also extinct now. So these animals were, yeah, they were megafauna and they were pack animals, and they went to war with each other all the time. So yeah,
That'd be a badass high school mascot, the Hell Pigs.
yeah,
The East Lansing Hell Pigs.
They should use more animals like that. Forget the
Mm-hmm.
Vikings. I mean, Vikings are great, but come on, let's get some hell pigs in there.
Yeah, the East Rutherford Hell Pigs coming downhill at you.
Okay, so here's some cool facts according to AI about sandhill cranes. So they're ancient flyers. The birds have existed for over 2.5 million years. Fossils show they predate the Ice Age. They have a red crown glow. Their red foreheads are bare skin that can flush brighter during excitement or aggression. Okay, so that's not like a feather because they do. The video you had me watch, like they say that maybe the red eyes that is reported could be red patch.
I think someone described. I can't remember if it's Seth Breedlove or Steve Ward, like Mothman royalty. I'm describing here, not trying to drop names. I just I talked to some people, but they say that one of them said that the sandhill crane was like the Mothman version of swamp gas. Like nothing to see here, people. Nothing. It's just a crane.
Right.
It just happened to be a 6-foot bird that has red on its face.
So they have epic migrations. They can fly up to 400 miles a day in V formations, often at dusk and dawn. And that's prime Mothman sighting times. Okay, so they have an unnerving call. Their loud, rattling bugle sounds like something from a Jurassic Park movie. Oh wow, Jurassic Park. So those are some things about the owls. So that's a little bit compelling. The fact that they got the red, that they fly around the time when the sightings were happening, could have been a rogue one, and they have this weird call. I mean, that's interesting. Now, owls are another bird that people say could be the cause. They are specialized. They have specialized feathers that muffle sound, letting owls swoop undetected, perfect for ghostly sightings.
Yes. A swooping owl at night will freak you out. I had one swoop on me in my yard during the summer.
So you didn't really hear it. That's the
I saw it coming and I saw it do. I heard. It wasn't even like it was barely audible.
Got it. Now, did people report hearing the Mothman's flapping or any sound that he made? Do you know?
Well, there's a lot of reports that Mothman takes off like a helicopter and doesn't flap at all.
Oh, okay.
And
like a helicopter.
Like he just, it just goes up without. There's no movement. And I took when I talked to Seth Breedlove about him, and I have notes similar to something you would take because I was just making all these commonalities, and I pulled them back up, got them back out right now since you said that. But here's some things I noticed about Mothman in all the accounts, and like they make a point to be seen is the craziest thing.
Okay.
Like Mothman's hanging around waiting to be seen. Like that's what gets me about a sandhill crane is I like them too because I see them once a week because my hometown has a big waterfowl sanctuary in it.
Nice.
And so I see them like at least once a week, and sometimes they're near my family's house. So they're cool animals, giant, thick. Have you seen one? Sure, you have. A sandhill crane. They're thick. They have a thick ass neck.
Yeah,
they look like an ostrich out there.
I see a lot of large waterfowl. Like even today, I was out at the lake. I live near a large lake, and I see all these large birds all the time. Bald eagles too. I've seen bald eagles out here. But I'm not sure if that specific bird. I don't think that specific crane lives here, unfortunately.
Sandhills they call them the ribeye of the sky. Okay. Apparently, they are delicious if you can get a tag.
Nice.
But yeah, they have like the blue herring, the one like that followed you home.
Yeah.
They have a little skinny neck, like a little goose. But sandhill has a neck like a man's arm.
Okay.
They're muscular. They're more prehistoric. Like. And that's what I'm thinking. The Mothman's eyes are like far apart. Sandhill cranes are like, their head's bigger than maybe between a softball and a cue ball.
Well, you know what? It also reminds. Tell me if I'm way off base here, but I feel like this Mothman sighting, superficially it doesn't seem similar, but it reminds me a little bit of the Hopkinsville goblins.
Mm-hmm.
How weird they act. Like the way they act, just nonsensical. Doesn't mean, like I said, taking off like a helicopter.
Yeah.
The goblins were kind of floating,
climbing on the roof, throwing stuff at you.
Just very nonsensical. And yeah, part of me thinks that. So there's this guy who Simeon Hine, I think is his name, and he's got a really good YouTube channel. But he thinks that a lot of these paranormal entities, what they have in common, and like Bigfoot, aliens, and what makes them special is that they're plasma-based organisms, which is interesting. So plasma is like the fourth state of matter, and the easiest way I could describe it is like plasma. Okay, like let's say you have a bracelet, right, and it's made of gold, right? So got all the gold atoms that make it gold, like on a periodic table, it's a gold atom. Okay, well, you could have another bracelet on your other hand that's also made of the same gold, molecules, but it's also plasma based. Now, what separates both of these bracelets is that the one that's plasma based has a lot more electrons in it, so it's electrically charged. It's just very active. So it's the same composition, like it's still gold, but it's plasma gold. So basically, what I'm saying is like you could have like an ape, it's like made like an ape, but it's a plasma ape, and
that would make sense.
Yeah, because there has to be some commonality between all these paranormal entities, even though they look so weird and different, like black-eyed children, like I said, Bigfoot, gray aliens, Mothman. They're so weird, but there's got to be something that connects them together because they're in the same books. That's why, because you go to the library, they're in the same. No, but I feel like there is a connection between them, even though superficially they look so different. I think the connection might be they're plasma based. Like there's something about them that's plasma based.
And they could have taken a turn evolutionary and just turned plasma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there could be this shadow biome. It's a word I've heard, but this hidden world that's plasma based, and we just, for whatever reason, we haven't been able to detect it or understand it, or we're just on the cusp of it, of understanding it. But
I think the military can see it. I think they've had to have cracked it a little bit of it. Just kind of, you start seeing all of a sudden a Bigfoot steps out, something like that.
Yeah,
it would make sense because they can do crazy things, but it doesn't make any sense why they can do it or why they would want to do it.
Right.
Like they just go into some different world. And like you were saying earlier about the Hopkinsville goblins being just nonsensical. Like when I said like they make a point to be seen.
Yeah.
Like I think the purpose is to instill fear. Like I don't know why, but like that's the reason I think it's not a bird. Because if a sand in part two of that is if it was a sandhill crane and it did, stand up and it's got a big wingspan, you're not ready for it, and you're in this 57 Chevy making out with your girlfriend, all of a sudden, whoosh, here comes a sandhill crane. It's going to get the hell out of there. It's a bird. It's going to fly off if it sees a car, especially a giant Ahuga car. But these things, every account of somebody seeing one, it chases their car and flaps in front and sometimes lands in front. I mean, it's just, birds don't do that. Birds are getting the hell out.
Yeah.
That's what birds do. They leave. They fly off. That's why bird watching is so fun. But that's one of the things, like obsession with chasing cars. Like every one of these Mothman stories, they get chased by a car. That was that guy Todd Urey. It just flies above his car for like an hour. Like it's not a crane.
The fear thing is interesting too, because like fear is very prevalent in paranormal entities, and you might be saying, yeah, they're scary, but other people report this weird connection with fear. Like for instance, I had a paranormal encounter. You know about it, Bobby? That phone call, right? Like. Oh, yeah. Looking back at it, I was like irrationally scared. Like I was losing it, dude. Like, and so part of me thinks like, is there something that's causing me to be scared? It's not just the situation, but something else, something deeper that's causing me to be. Maybe the purpose is to make me scared. And I remember I interviewed Fred Roll, from Alaska Sasquatch, and he was mentioning, being in Alaska on this river, and the Bigfoot were like outside this little trailer, and he just mentioned one throwaway line, but he was like. He said he got the feeling that they wanted him to be scared, and that they were feeding on his fear. He said that straight up. Got that impression. And then there's another guy, Jack Valet. Have you seen Jack Valet recently did an interview with Ryan Sprague, and Jack Valet is a really famous ufologist. He's like Silicon Valley millionaire.
Yeah, he's one of the big ones.
He's a big, yeah.
He's like elite.
written some great books, and he was talking about one of his latest books, which I need to read. He wrote a series of personal memoirs, and the last one just came out, and he was talking about it. So he goes more into detail in the story. So you check out his book. I think it's called Forbidden Castles or something like that. But anyway, he said that he wanted to get closer to making contact with a paranormal entity. So he met up with some people. I don't know who, but he did some practices that were supposed to get him closer. It kind of sounds, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it kind of sounds like he was doing some occult type stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe
well, that's by definition. That's what he was doing.
That's
whether it was, whether it was or not.
You're right. You're right about that. So then he was doing some occult stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, nothing was really happening. You know, I thought something was going to happening, but nothing." And then he's like, "But then all of a sudden, he's like, I was asleep in my apartment, and something took me out of my body and moved me to another part of my apartment, and I was there, and I was seeing this entity in front of me that looked like it was alive. It looked like it was trying to communicate. It didn't really have like a shape to describe, but he said he was like terrified. He was like I was irrationally scared." And this is Jack Valet, who traveled all over the world studying paranormal entities. Like, this is his bread and butter. He's probably deeper into it than a lot of people, and he probably knows a lot more than other people. But he was like, he made a point of saying, like, I just irrationally scared. I could not control myself. And he was like, I didn't feel threatened either. He was like, I wasn't threatened. Nothing scary was happening, but I was just so scared. And he even said that what happened, he thinks that he got so scared that it shocked him back into his body. So that and then so you're mentioning the Mothman, about how it seemed to be wanting to be seen and scare people. It does make me wonder, like, is there something to get out of our feet?
Yeah, there's never a Mothman sighting where they're like, "Oh shit, the Mothman," and the Mothman just leaves. No, there's always phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 with it. And sometimes it's like what's the one fella? His father was sick, and he was staying in his father's house because he was like on his deathbed. And he woke up dreaming about his son, who wasn't at the house, saying, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." And he woke up, and Mothman's standing beside him, and just unfurls his wings and like burst out the door or something. Like, he starts talking to him, and like, that's why. I mean, what's the purpose of it? Why is it? Well, I'm losing train of thought here, but like, why is it there? There was no harbinger of death at that point. Right. He was just trying to scare him, because his dad died like years later. It wasn't like his dad was dead in the next room, which is what I thought. It's just like super concentrated fear. Like, it's not like a pleasant experience.
Yeah, a lot of these sound like, a lot of these paranormal things like Bigfoot, it sounds like just a visitor coming from some other dimension or something. And they're just as curious about us as we would be of them. And they're just like, you know, like, let's say the Mothman came here because it could have been on purpose or on accident. What if he somehow accidentally ended up in Point Pleasant, Virginia?
Yeah, it's like a bird in an airport. Like, how'd the bird get in the airport?
Yeah.
Was there always a bird in the airport?
Let's say he was there, and then he was like, well, there's all these humans. Maybe he was trying to ask for help. He was like, hey, get me out of here. I want to go back to my Mothman dimension.
Yeah. Did you don't have to. Have you read the John Keel book?
Yeah, it's a great book. It's a really well-written book.
The thing that gets me is, it's like it ends basically. I don't think the sightings end, but like the reporting sightings end, like in the Silver Bridge, December 15th, 1967. Right. But it's almost like, John Keel was getting told about there was going to be like a power grid collapse, and there was going to be the Pope attacked by a man with a ninja sword, and like everything was happening. Like, this is going to happen, and they're feeding off them worried about it. Like, you just give them something to worry about, and then all of a sudden something happens across the world at the same time, because he thought the power grid was going to go down whenever, who was it, Nixon? Johnson? I can't remember who year it was. Might have been Nixon. Had to have been Johnson. Okay. And giving like the Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the White House lawn. And then at that exact moment, the Silver Bridge collapsed. And it's almost like the Mothman, no pun intended, is drawing like a moth to a flame to this. And they're not the harbinger; they just sense it.
Right.
I don't know. I love Mothman more than I do Bigfoot right now. Pound for pound, it's a better story. It's a better cinematic universe, because it's just this crazy stuff. And Mothman's like 10% of it. The rest of it's like the Men in Black
Right.
and the Harbingers, and the guys everybody thought was Asians, but they had like crazy smiles. The Grinning Man.
I told you I have a joke about that Asian thing because I remember
You
that
did.
in the book, and I was like, what if it's just like a bunch of Asian tourists just visiting that area, and everybody's like, whoa, Asian.
Yeah, that was one of the first when we first started talking. You were talking about how John Keel was like, everybody sees the Asians walking around. Maybe they just got a big tourist influx. But the fact that they come in and don't have cars and they show up at your door and they walk in and can't talk and they start talking to these sing-songy voices.
Yeah.
I wasn't when I read the book, I didn't know what it was going to be because I just had the Richard Gere movie in my heart. Not my heart. No, it's not like a book of the Bible. I just had the Richard Gere movie in my head. So I'm like, what is this going to be about? Because I knew it was like the Mothman textbook. And sure enough, man, it goes everywhere. It goes so deep, but it just ends. But yeah, apparently it didn't end. They just kind of got awkward to talk about it after the Silver Ridge collapse. Everybody's kind of sad. Like, let's not talk about that for a minute.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That makes sense.
It's like when there's a big fight at the dinner table. You gotta act like nothing happened. It's just there's whole doc. I'm reading a book right now. Tobias Whalen. He's coming on Thursday. He's coming on Thursday to record about the Lake Michigan ones.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think about the O'Hare Airport Mothman sightings?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, what these humanoids just flying around? Like, what are they doing? Like, that's what I'm saying. This Mothman thing will take you. Like, we've been going over an hour just like speculation. It'll take you in a world of, take you in a world of, God damn. It'll take you down rabbit holes you didn't know were there. And here's something crazy that I haven't told anyone. And this will probably be like the 4th or 5th or maybe the 8th or 10th episode in the series. But last March, what is it? February 20? It's February 25 now. Last March, February of 23, I started seeing 37s everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I mean every freaking where. And the 37s would be accompanied by a 333 every now and then. And I thought, oh, March 7th. And I looked at my calendar. I had a podcast scheduled March 7th. Like, well, something's happening there. No, I was a guest and we talked about horror movies for 20 minutes as like a promo. Nothing happened. And like, I mean, it kept happening. It's still happening to this day. And I think it's leading me. I think it wants me to do this Mothman thing. I think that's like pushing me toward it because I would look up 37s and of course, wake up number 37. Like, oh, that's interesting, Mothman. But then I'd get them again. Nothing. Then all of a sudden I stumble up on this. All of a sudden I'm getting the Mothman royalty saying, okay, I'll come on your show. I'm like, what? And so I think there's something to it. I think Mothman is energy.
Right.
Not necessarily like Mothman's directing me, not talking to me directly, but like the universe is like, do this Mothman thing and you're probably going to get a little bit bigger. Maybe you're going to get some fame out of it. And then 333 is crazy. I just noticed it because one day I was going around all these phones and at desk 37, the number was blank blank 37. And the desk next to it the number was not 37, but had 37 voicemails. And the next desk was like 323. It happened a lot. And that's a vague example, but like it was one of those moments. You ever had synchronicities happen? When like they happen to me, it's maybe once a year I get a whole thing like that, but I was like, wow, what is this? And then the end of it was like 323. Then it stopped. And I found out the guy that wrote there's a goth bluegrass song called I Saw Mothman. And his handle was Mike 333 West. I was like, what? And I didn't notice it till I downloaded the song off TikTok and looked and saved it on my phone.
Yeah.
And it had his little handle. I said, there's that. But yeah, I think I'm supposed to do the Mothman thing. It's a weird synchronicity. I don't think I'm experiencing a harbinger of doom. I don't think anything bad's going to happen because of it. Hopefully not. Knock on wood. But it's a whole thing. Like I think it's the universe is playing along.
Right.
Not necessarily. I'm not like saying I'm related to Point Pleasant or anything, but saying it's almost like it's supposed to happen kind of thing. That's why Mothman seems so interesting to me right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, the angel number thing for me is just crazy. It's really, the 37's like, I'm like, what is it about? And the last time I saw numbers like that, which my favorite angel number, it became the amount of money I made at my next job, and it became the amount I sold my truck for. I'm like, was this 37 the money I'm going to get, like $3 million or something, or 3,700? I don't know, but nothing would ever come true. Nothing. I'm like, what the fuck are these 37s? And all of a sudden, I started taking this podcast course. It said do 90 to 100 day hyper niched, outward facing series, and you'll grow your channel if you do it right. So that's what I'm doing with this Mothman thing. And sure enough, 37 is just going nuts after I started doing that. I said, it's got to be what it was. Something like that. Got to be something affiliated. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Chilling.
Going back to that cult thing, like it seems to me that the occult works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm trying not to be a cult, though. I don't want to do like down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, basically. I was like, because I know I wouldn't do it, because it sounds like a surefire way to get something to happen.
Yeah,
but
I'm not going to Illuminati shit, man.
It sounds like the equivalent of like, you want to be rich? Well, rob a bank. You'll get rich, but it's like, at what price? You know?
Yeah, I'm really wanting to earn stuff organically. Yeah. Maybe like with like a little supercharged with universal help, but I don't know if I want to give away a firstborn or anything. I'm trying to do it without having to do all that.
I don't know why Jack Valet did it. He got curious or something.
Well, I think if you get so far into it, you're just like, give me something. Yeah. Give me something. I always say, whenever I'm doing any kind of prayer, for lack of a better term, or manifestation, no monkey's paw shit, and positive, no humiliation, don't ruin lives. I'm throwing that out there, but I don't want any monkey's paw at all. I don't want no part of it. I said, I'll be a pauper before I want to do monkey's paw stuff. Like, you know, you get $1 million, but like your family gets wiped out.
Right.
I don't want that.
Well, there was another form of contact related to Jack Valet, because Jack Valet worked on Skinwalker Ranch. Mm-hmm. Robert Bigelow. Yeah. He was hired by Robert Bigelow for NIDS, National Institute for Discovery Science. But I guess around this time, an experiment happened that was pretty successful, and it doesn't sound that intense. I was going to get your opinion on would you do this, but so Robert Bigelow gave an interview with Jeffrey Mishlove on New Thinking Alive, and he detailed this really fascinating, successful experiment that they did on Skinwalker Ranch to make direct contact with whatever was there. So I think basically the gist of it was they would go into a room, and on a table they would get some jacks. You know, the old game with a ball and the jacks? Mm-hmm. And they would just like, maybe, I think I'm not 100% sure, but the gist of it is, I think they would just leave them scattered on the table, and they would talk to the entity, just talk to it and be like, hey, we want you to manipulate these. And then they would have to leave the room, go outside for a little bit maybe, and then they came back in, and sure enough, they were all arranged and manipulated in a way. And that was like a direct, really cool contact. Because Robert Bigelow said that whatever's in Skinwalker Ranch, like it wanted to make contact, and it liked playing games. It seems like almost like childlike, you know? It's so strange. Like, what is, like, first of all, who has the time? Who has the time? I don't care if you're interdimensional or what. Who has the time to sit around with some NIT scientists and play with jacks? This economy? So, I don't know. It sounds kind of like a childlike thing. But that was interesting. It seemed like a low-key, low-stakes, but yet very, like, intense. Imagine, like, talking to something, you know, asking it to do something, leaving and it doing it. I thought that was interesting. And that doesn't sound faulty at all. You know, it just sounds like you're playing with something.
Yeah, I've done the Estes method ghost box thing before in a body shoot of a haunted hospital. So that's not much different than that. I definitely would. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, why don't you just talk to us? I mean, if you've got all the power of the known universe, maybe it's one of those things like people who are sensitive get all the energy and signal because they can sense your aura is receptive to it.
You know, that reminds me, because like I'm all about collaboration. So I would love to collaborate with one of these plasma paranormal beings and be like, look, obviously you're interested in us. Like, what can I do for you that's not illegal or hurtful or bad. Is there anything? Do you want a Diet Coke? Like,
Yeah.
what can I do? There's certainly you want something out of humanity that's not hurtful. And what can you do for me? Like, can you just like I said, can you just find? How about this? I'll get you the Diet Coke, and then you go to the bottom of the ocean and find some gold that's part of a shipwreck, and you manifest it in my bedroom. Is that not a fair deal for a Diet Coke?
Yeah.
But really, truly, I'm like, what can we work together? Can we work together as a collaborative team? Not anything weird. I don't want to hurt anybody, like you said, no occult stuff. But just like two partners, like on a project, nothing weird. I would love to get to that type of collaboration. I feel like back in the day that happened more. Like
Yeah.
people
I bet it did.
with the fairies, with the goblins, they would make little deals. I'm gonna do that. Just make a little deal with
when human vibration was a lot higher and a lot
right.
purer, I bet they did it a lot. And is that at the end of the day, is that not much different than how Randy gifting and talking to the Bigfoot?
That's what I was about to say.
It's the same thing.
One of the examples is like, giving Bigfoot peanut butter and he gives you a basket that he wrote.
And he puts those markers out there and they write stuff. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I was a little disappointed that the Rubik's Cube Bigfoot thing didn't pan out. It tells me there may be some kind of, it tells me they may be an animal, but like a different kind of animal, i.e. the plasma being.
Right.
They're not just omnipotent. Very smart, but they're not just like
right.
A god, a demigod, or a Nephilim, as they say. Well, it has been an hour and a half, and probably just an hour for us because we've been talking before, and I think we've covered the topic, and hopefully the people enjoyed it because this is what I wanted. I've got another fella coming on. His name is Brett, and he's a researcher in Mothman, but not like a famous one, which is not taken away from him at all. But we're going to do like a halftime. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes, and then he's going to come on as like a fanboy halftime. He's going to be like episode 7. It's we're going to fanboy, kind of like the last half of our show here. It's just going to be that. Like we're going to talk about everything and how we like it.
Right.
I'm kind of excited about this. This series is going to be great, unless I ruin it and forget to do it.
Sounds good to me.
It does. Pound for pound, Mothman is more fun than Bigfoot. I say it, and I'm thinking my next series, like I said, one of the series is going to be Book Accurate Jurassic Park because I have to do it. It's calling me like Moana calls me. But we were Michael. We were genetic voyagers. We got Henry Wu. But the other one I want to do is like Native American Bigfoot stories. I want to dive down that.
I told you that one of the Native American stories that I like a lot is that Bigfoot, basically people that have gone feral, like, but that something physically changes. Not just a guy that becomes a hermit and gets hairy. No, like something physically, like they get bigger, they get the muscle mass. And you know what's funny? Because I think I told you this already. So this hypothesis that I like is that certain people, not everybody, but maybe certain people have it in their genetics. Maybe they have more relic hominid ancestors that when they go into nature, like a pig, they change. Like pigs will change muscularly. Mm-hmm. I told that to my friend who's a doctor, and he was trying to shoot it down, but he actually gave me some insights because he was like, no. He was like, well, with pigs. No. With pigs, the only reason it happens is the diet. It's because their diet changes. But I was like, that's brilliant. Maybe that's the key to it. Like maybe that's what triggers it in humans. Maybe it's not just that you're a human and that you have the genetics in you and then you become feral. Maybe it's that when you become feral and you have the genetics, it switches your diet. Maybe that's what triggers it in humans as well. Maybe it's the diet change. That's great. I was like, that's great. That's you're trying to take this down, but I think you might have given me an insight there.
Why don't you experiment with it?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
just only eat berries and shit.
Yeah.
What would you have to eat to be a feral human? Like just straight up in the woods, grubs,
berries? First, I think you'd have to go through a fasting period. I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
You'd probably go through a heavy fasting period where you're just figuring it out.
You think there's like a caloric intake you can get down to and just eat nothing but carnivore?
Yeah. It could be that maybe in order to trigger the process, your diet has to go first to a severe calorie reduction. Maybe you have to get close to death, and then you start introducing small amounts of grub or just bear. That's maybe what genetically triggers it. Your body, then your body's like, oh, this guy is going through it. time to Bigfoot. You know,
What time the Bigfoot? Holy shit! That's what if there's like, you know how fight or flight happens if somebody comes at you in the dark? You know, huh? What if there's like a genetic granular level of flight or fight, and that's what it is? Like
right,
you're like, I know when I go on my carnivore diet, you feel different, but I'm getting
right.
plenty of calories. But your brain's like, why haven't we had anything else for a while?
Well,
And it'll
yeah,
even change your gut biome. It
right. It does. Yeah.
and one time when I was on carnivore, my gut biome changed so much that my body had this one morning, and this is gross as hell. And thank God no one's going to be listening to this podcast this long, because I'm not editing this part out. One morning, I was in the shower, and I had a sense that I smelled like a dead animal, and I'm
Wow.
like, and I'm thinking, and this is gross, but I was on the carnivore diet for about 3 weeks at this point, like pure butter, eggs, dead things, nothing, no vegetables, and it smelled like a trash can, like you're driving by a trash can that had a dead animal in it.
Wow.
And I thought the sewer was backing up. And I'm like, what is that? And through no specific method of testing things, it was me. And I was oozing it. And it didn't come out. I think it was just because I was nude,
Yeah.
because I was in the shower. I don't, not to give a visual to anyone. And so like there was nothing, I wasn't wearing anything to capture the scent. But it had
Did,
changed my biome so much that it was just like,
did anybody else mention it? Like, people that are close to you?
no, like I think it happened like overnight, just a fermentation. And once that particular
Okay.
portion of the stuff in my intestines got cleared out, it kind of adjusted. But
Yeah.
it was it was like when you're driving down the road and you pass a dead possum. It smelled like
Wow.
that. I thought the sewer was backing up. And this is gross. I'm sorry, but it happened scientifically. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of a portion of what you were talking about.
Fascinating. And I will quote my biologist, my biologist mentor in the biology lab. So I'd be crawling around ponds and scum and stuff, and I loved it. I wasn't complaining, but I remember one quote he gave me. He was like, "Biology doesn't always smell nice."
No, I was fascinated by it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And
I would be too.
Joe Rogan talks about when he does gets back on it, how gives him bad diarrhea, which never does me.
Right.
It makes me
I mean,
stopped up really bad because nothing moves. I think that's part of the reason it happened, because everything was stopped up and fermenting. This is as gross as possible. But yeah, I mean, once it was gone, it never happened again. But I swear to God, I was like, I'm going to call a plumber. This sewer's backed up. It smelled like that mixed with a dead animal. And it was
right.
me. That's so gross. That's so effing gross. And with that, we're going to end this recording, because I'm sure you're all gone. Please don't unsubscribe, people. Wild Trees, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Your YouTube channel is Biologist Wild Trees. Look him up. It'll be in the description. But yeah, everybody hit that subscribe button for both me and him. And thanks for watching the Mothman 100 Days of Mothman.